Welcome, viewers of your national award-winning program, Let's Talk America Radio. Of course, on the program, we highlight the best and the brightest and some of the most interesting topics out there. Well, happy holidays for whatever you celebrate. This is a joyful season. 'Tis the season. But what comes along with this season? Well, it's lots of other things, stress as well. I'm no expert on speaking on the topic, but today I have two amazing medical professionals that know a thing or two about it, up close and personal, and also professional experience. Board certified naturopathic doctors and husband and wife team as well. Doctors Drew and Briana Sinatra are both young parents who relate to the stresses many families may be experiencing right now or soon to be during this joyful holiday season. And with holiday commitments, expectations, travel, and the pressure to quickly get kids vaccinated for COVID-19, parents have a lot of decisions certainly to make right now. We all know that. So how can parents and grandparents and all of our village keepers get prepared for the holiday season while keeping calm, right? The C word. So the stress doesn't transfer to the children. Oh, Dr. Sinatra, if we only had that magic crystal ball to help us not go there. I want to welcome both of you to the program. We have a tradition here on Let's Talk America Radio, our Real Talk video series, where we want to get to know you up close and personal. So in 2 minutes or less, we'd like each of you within your own time frame to talk about what got you here. Such an amazing, fascinating field of medicine that you're in, right? Certainly, Dr. Drew, explain exactly what it is for some of our viewers that may not be as familiar with it as other types of doctors out there, and what motivates and drives you. And then we're going to tag team your amazing wife as well.
Sure, absolutely. So we both practice integrative medicine or naturopathic medicine, or some may have heard it's called functional medicine. And it's really a system of medicine that that kind of combines a conventional and natural medicine. So we try to figure out really underlying causes for medical conditions. So today we'll be talking about sleep issues, right? Or you're trying to stay calm. So we'll kind of, decide and really talk about like, well, what are ways that are making people stressed out, or what are ways that are really interfering with people's sleep? So we really try to figure out the root cause. And I got into this field because my father is an integrative cardiologist, and I saw him work wonders with his patients with integrative medicine, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps. So I decided to study naturopathic medicine. That's where I met Briana in Seattle, Washington, and I'll let her take it from here.
Yeah, Dr. Briana, your husband certainly explained it well, functional medicine as well, so integrative medicine as well, as he explained. What got you involved in this field that seems to be very fascinating? And also, I'm sure it's been around for years, but new to a lot of people that may have never heard of it watching us tonight.
Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to be in healthcare. I loved working with people. I loved helping people. And when I was in pre-med and shadowing with other practicing doctors, I unfortunately saw that the medical system wasn't always set up, to help support people to get to the root cause of chronic illness. And it wasn't really set up to support doctors in the way that I was looking for. I felt like it focused on shorter visit times, and it was more of a disease care model instead of a wellness care model. And I have the utmost respect for MDs and in emergency medicine and acute medicine. That is absolutely what's needed. But I feel like those chronic conditions, having someone who will really walk on that wellness journey with you, really turn over every stone to see specifically for you what's going on. Because 5 people might come into your office with fatigue being their main concern, and all 5 of those people likely have a different journey that took them there and a different root cause that needs to be addressed. And so what really excites me is having that connection with the individual and going on that journey and figuring out what specifically for them needs to be addressed, and then being a part of their healthcare team and, their cheerleader and support to help them get to where they want to go.
I love it. Dr. Brand, it sounds like a lot of what you and your husband and other colleagues do is in some shape or form empowering the patient. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the patient who is in their body, right? And they know their body the best. And unfortunately, I hear way too common, someone is going in to see their current provider and they don't feel heard or they don't feel acknowledged. And I think that should be the forefront for anyone getting any type of care. So.
And also I'll add in here too, we really encourage our patients to work with us in getting themselves better. So it's sometimes people come to the doctor because they want the doctor to cure them and to give them a pill or something to alleviate their symptoms and such. And so we work with people, on their diet and their lifestyle, encouraging meditation, healthy sleep practices, healthy digestion. And they're the ones that are really doing those things, right? Changing their diet up, eating certain foods, going to bed early, waking up at a good time in the morning, et cetera. So it's a two-way street in terms of us helping them and them helping us.
If we had a magic wand, we would use it, but we haven't found one yet.
No, none of us have found that. Before we talk about the stress of the holidays, I did want to follow up on something you just said, Dr. Drew. You said that your patients have to be in it with you together. And I have spent years in medical reporting where I've heard many medical experts, such as yourself, sometimes off the record, express frustration because they don't sometimes think patients take their health as serious as they should, or saying it's your body, I want you to do these things. And sometimes, certainly not all patients, but some don't necessarily take the things as serious and don't necessarily get on the plan that you both agree on. Do you have any advice? I know we're kind of jumping ahead a little, but for those that may be listening, no one likes a diagnosis, but things do happen as we live in life. For those, is it discipline we lack as people in communities, or is it willpower? Do you have a professional opinion or a little bit of personal one that may help us kind of get over the hump as people fight so many different conditions, from obesity to other things?
You want to take that one, or? It's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it right now.
One thing I can say just from experience and hearing people who unfortunately get awful diagnoses, and it scares the crap out of them. And yet it kind of gives them that second chance to change things that maybe they had thought about changing, or, wish they did but didn't. It kind of puts a little bit of that fire under them. And so hopefully that isn't what's needed for everyone, but sometimes realizing, even getting blood work back and being like, oh, it wasn't as good as I thought, we always are resilient. Our cells can change, and those little changes make such a difference. And so, and we all have to start somewhere, right? Like, you can't make 10 changes all at once. Make one change that makes sense to you and have it be a lasting change. See the difference, feel the difference in your body, and then go forward with the next change, and everyone starts somewhere. So just starting somewhere and making one change today is amazing.
Dr. Briana, what a great point, because so many times I think we feel like when you get these diagnoses or things explained from experts such as yourself, people are like, it sounds so overwhelming, but you're right, start somewhere, right? It's the small step that get you to the bigger steps. And I think so many times people may emotionally take it in and like, it's so much on me, but you're like, start somewhere, because everywhere, wherever we are in our health journey, and we're all somewhere on that spectrum, you've got to start even small to get to the big part.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Such a great point. Now let's talk about something that's very relevant, that's trending, if we recognize it or not. And that's always stress, Dr. Drew. And it's the holiday season. And it's, as much as we'd love to watch the many great holiday movies that come on the different channels that we love, and everyone's happy and there's nothing wrong, and what a great ending. Unfortunately, rural community people don't always have those experiences during the holidays. As much as they're wonderful times and great memories are being built, many individuals that I've had the opportunity to interact with and engage with don't always tell those stories. There's a lot of stress or tension that's brewing, and it didn't just happen during the December or late November months, right? It's been brewing for a long time. And now on top of that, Dr. Drew, we have COVID, and we have children being there, and the vaccination recommendations, and now booster recommendations for COVID-19. How do the individual that's watching us right now saying, Dr. Drew, I don't want to get into it this Christmas with my parents or with my cousins or sister or brother, how can they attempt to try to avoid that and have the stress have, short-term and long-term impacts on their own body?
Well, I always tell people, you got to choose your battles. And there's lots of different battles going on right now. And I mean, there's too much information that comes to us media and our computers and our phones, and there's emails coming in all the time. And so you have like information coming in from all different angles. And it's really hard to distill that information into something that really, feels true to you. And so I think it's difficult for people, especially in an environment like now where things are changing left and right. I mean, if you turn on the TV this morning and listen to the news then compared to tonight, there's going to be a very differing opinion out there in terms of what's going on with COVID. So the constant changing of what's happening with COVID and other things in the world right now is exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. It's exhausting for us as parents. It's exhausting for us as doctors. And what I recommend to people is to choose your battle. So perhaps it's not watching the TV for a couple of days, like just taking a break and doing something for yourself that you enjoy, whether that's going for a walk in the neighborhood with your significant other or your dog, or getting out into nature, or something that you can do for yourself that's simple instead of being so tuned in all the time to the information that's overwhelming to us.
Wow, that's such a great point, because sometimes you have to know when to turn it off. We once had a family therapist on, there was actually a few months ago, and she was saying that we always feel we have to be pushed to be informed, but she said herself, she takes breaks from it because it caused her stress and it was causing her anxiety, and she had to know when to turn it off. And you have to know that for yourself and not be programmed. But I'm taught that I've got to watch the news every day and check in on Facebook and see what's going on. But we have to really do a check-in with us as well. And you're right, you really choose your battles, Dr. Drew. And so many times people think of that in a relationship, like, well, you don't have to necessarily argue or fuss about everything, but you're right, even with our own selves and the activities we're choosing. Yes. It doesn't have to be everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Dr. Briana, what else can help us? I mean, I want to bring up the S word of sleep.
Yeah.
There are many people not getting it right now, and there's some people getting it. But you all are young parents, right? You get it. Yeah. When you have young children, the sleep is not always consistent. Sometimes they're excited about somebody possibly coming down a chimney with toys on a certain day. Or right, our children have pressures every day, from school, or maybe daycare, or something's going on at school that we're not always privy to. How important is sleep? And not just for that adorable boy or girl that we have, but also for moms and dads and grandparents. How key is it during this holiday season?
It's so important. And I wanted to touch on, just what you said to Drew about, going into the holiday, we have these expectations, we have these concerns of, I had this interaction with this person last year. I want to see them, but I'm stressed about that. There's so many external things that we don't necessarily have control over. And so, especially when we're going into the holidays and there's all these external pressures from parties and cooking and all these things, there's only so much of that we have control over. But what we feel like is really important in our house and what we advise with our patients is to take care of the things and, the things within our house, our own household, and how we treat ourselves are things that we do have control over. And so, like what you talked about with stress and sleep and, staying sharp so we can stay focused, those are things that we do have control over. And there's different things that we can do so that, different activities, different food choices, different supplements when indicated, that can really help us in all of those areas, because they are not isolated, right? If we don't sleep well, our stress is out the window, or really activated. And then it's really hard to stay focused. And if we're stressed, we may not sleep very well. So all of those have an interplay and affect each other. So back to your question about sleep is so important, right? We have a 10-month-old. She's up multiple times at night. And when she was first born, I was, you're on that high. You're like, oh yeah, I can do it. Sleep, it's fine. And now I'm like, I am tired. And then I notice my stress level is affected, right? Like just earlier today, I was like, I can't deal. I'm going for a walk and taking her for a nap because she's biting me while trying to nurse her down. And it's like, mom needs to go outside and get a walk and get some fresh air, because that will not only help my stress, but it's going to help me sleep better too, right? Just getting out of the house, clearing my mind, calling a friend, whatever it is you need. It's so important to handle the stress so you can help with the sleep.
Dr. Brianna, I want to touch on that. And both parents play such critical roles in children's lives. But I want to right now address the mothers that may be watching us. And I say that because there are studies and many observations that have clearly painted a picture that sometimes the mothers of the families are the last to take care of herself. Right. So she's taking care of her partner. She's making sure that the husband or significant other is, he had his flu shot. He's got his supplements. He's got his medicine. He's good. And she's with the kids and she's making sure they're keeping up with doctor's appointments. And unfortunately, I have seen studies where they're saying they're women, not necessarily even going to get screenings, important screenings for themselves. You're a mother, you're a working mom, you know the pressures, you know the stressors, and I'm sure Dr. Drew works as hard as well, and I'm sure very involved parent as well. But to the mother that's watching that feels like she may have to put everything else, and I don't have time for that screening, I don't have time for self-care, I have to nurse the baby, I don't have time to get outside. What advice would you have? Because as well as a mother, sometimes there's mommy guilt that we do experience as well. Where
sometimes.
I know where we're doing something and we're like, but there is some guilt some mothers have when they do sort of do a self-care walk in the park and the child is left with the father. Talk us through that and how keeping yourself and your health a priority is so key to be the best mother and significant other we can be.
Oh yeah, we talk about that a lot. And what we liken it to is when you're on an airplane, right? And they say when the oxygen mask drops, put the mask on yourself before helping, your dependent or the child beside you. We have to take care of ourselves first before we help others. Otherwise, we are just depleting ourselves, right? And then we are less effective, not only for ourselves, but for those around us. And so I think we need to, just as a society, change our viewpoint on self-care. I think so often we think and look at self-care as, oh, like you're going to get a massage, how indulgent, or, you're taking that time for yourself, and look at it as a negative thing instead of oh my gosh, good for you. Like you're taking that time to exercise, you're taking that time to go for a walk or to, take a class in something that you enjoy that's going to stretch your brain in another way because you are always thinking about, work or the kids, and you should get to learn a new craft or whatever it might be that, those are so important, and we absolutely need to take care of ourselves as hard as it may be. And I think sometimes we need our partners to say, go and exercise. You need this. I got this. Yeah. And they might not do it the way you want to do it, but the kids will be totally fine. And they will learn amazing things with that partner, right? We all have strengths and things to give. And I think taking that time is so important, and having the support to do it is important.
I was gonna add in really quick, just to add on to that. You don't need to go out for hours at a time to take care of yourself. Like Brianna did earlier today, she went for her walk with our baby. She came back and she was a different woman. And no, really,
it's much nicer to be around.
But you don't need that much time. And all she needed was a little walk in nature, the fresh air, and we had some snow falling from the sky here. It was beautiful. And now she's reset. And I think people need that quick reset. And whether it's a quick meditation or breathing practice or going for a walk, whatever it is for yourself, it doesn't have to be all day, half day. It can be just a 5-10 minute, 20-minute self-care practice.
Yeah. That is so key. Dr. Dren, thank you for saying that and also expressing the support for the many women that are in families to be able to be supportive, say they do need that, and let them go and get the walk or whatever is needed, even if it's just a kumbaya moment in the bathroom.
Yeah,
that's right.
A partner to watch the baby for a few minutes. Dr. Drew, I want to talk about something else that's, I know, very important, near and dear to your heart and your profession. Talk about nutrients going in the body. I think that it's the holiday season, right? There's so many treats and pastries that our neighbors, someone may bring by, and we're loading up on it. We throw out the low carb concept and we're like, it's the holidays, no big deal. And then February the 1st, we're like, where did the extra 20 pounds come from? How important is it for us to keep that nutritional balance there? But still, but still want to be a real human and enjoy your time off or with family and friends, because that's the struggle. You don't want to be the Ebenezer Scrooge of the holiday gathering. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. You all don't bring me cake. How can we really stay healthy with our diet and still, again, enjoy ourselves?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it's a matter of balance. And with everything in life, it comes down to moderation. So if you're going crazy over the holidays, eating a ton of sugar and refined carbohydrates, that might catch up to you in January or February with some weight gain or just not feeling well or something. So I always tell my patients, if it's a celebration, if it's something that you want to have fun with, maybe it's not an everyday thing, but maybe it's a once a week or every month or whatever it is, or the holidays, right? So it's going to be coming up with Christmas and New Year's and all the different holiday season stuff happening. That's a good time to enjoy with your family, your friends, and perhaps indulge in something that you normally don't indulge in, whether it's cake or pastries or whatever. But it does come down to moderation. And I think also too, it's just the way that we eat, wouldn't you say, in terms of like stuffing food in our face is not going to not be good in terms of nutrient absorption. You want to really slow down your eating. And that way you're going to obviously digest your food better, and you'll assimilate more of those nutrients that you mentioned into your body instead of just shoveling food in your mouth and it's just going to pass right through you. So there's a concept of how you eat too, which is really important in terms of nutrient absorption.
Yeah, that is so key to keep that in mind. And how important is H2O, water? Because, sometimes people will, I see, very well done. We will sometimes just focus on the food concept, and yet we're having lots of drinks heavy in calories, right? I have a good friend, she's a pharmacist, and she says most people drink all their calories before they ever had an opportunity to eat it. How key is water intake over the holiday period as we try to have a balanced life and less stress?
Yeah, I think water is so important. And I feel like one of the best ways for me is the first thing when I wake up in the morning is to pour a big glass of water and drink that big glass of water. So I start off the day hydrated. And then what works for me is getting, this was actually a gift, but it's pretty and I like it. And so I keep it at my workstation and then it's there. Because for me, I don't feel thirsty. Drew's so good at always making sure he has a water bottle. He feels thirsty. I'm like a camel. I could go all day and not drink water. But if I have it there, I will drink it. And so I think the key is to have a water bottle on you throughout the holiday. If you're going to a party, and you're going to accept a drink, maybe have a glass of water first. Make sure that you're staying hydrated, because it's so important. And you will feel a lot better if you stay hydrated.
And I'll add into that too, at least for Briana, I know when she hasn't drank water because she gets a headache and she has tense shoulders and she doesn't feel well. And that may manifest for the listeners as fatigue or being cranky or some other symptom, right? And so one of the things we recommend for energy for our patients to boost energy is to make sure they're drinking enough water. Wow. And then another addition to that you can do is add some electrolytes to your water, because you'll hold on to water more efficiently if you've got enough electrolytes in that water solution.
I love it. Great information. Viewers, you're watching award-winning Let's Talk America Radio. We're doing our video series, a real talk, and we are talking with the one and only Dr. Drew and Dr. Briana Sinatra, and they are with us giving their take on trying to have a balanced holiday season, handling and managing the stress. And they're giving real life tips, which I love. Dr. Drew, you just gave a great argument along with your wife about drinking water and remembering and some of the things that can happen when we're not getting enough water. I've got a kind of a tough question for you as a mother and all the millions of parents out there. How do you get the kids to love water? Because we'll be drinking it. And of course, sometimes, and shame on us as parents, sometimes they're going for the juices. I'm not going to put any brand on blast, but you're like, well, it's only one juice you have a day. And then an hour later, can I have another juice? And you're thinking, well, it can't be that bad. It says it's no added preservatives, right? So it can't be that bad. But help us out. How do we get them to fall in love with water as well?
I think that starts young. I think it's hard, right? Because once their tastes are attuned to something different, it's tricky. So, I mean, for those who have babies, start with the water young and try and just give them water, especially around meals. But, over the holidays and stuff, sparkly water can be a treat, like the Soda Stream. You can add a little bit of cranberry juice to that, a little bit of orange juice, but the amount of juice is going to be a lot less than if you give them a juice box or a glass of juice. So kind of spicing it up, putting, a little bit of lemon on the side of their glass, making it something new, something special for them. But we always try and dilute it as much as possible, because absolutely, when our kids are allowed to get a juice box, it is a treat. And our middle child would have like 10 in a row and then be on the floor feeling awful, but it won't stop him from asking the next time too. So
I've got two more solutions there to add. Is dilution. So just start diluting the juice that you give your kids.
Okay.
And over time, they may not notice that there's any water in there, but their taste buds will accommodate, and get used to it for that matter. So that's one way to do it. And another thing that we do is like a treat for our kids is to give them these Stevia sodas, but dilute it with either water or sparkling water. And it's a nice little treat, and there's no sugar in there because stevia is a natural sweetener. So those are two quick.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, we don't do it that often, but our kids think that is pop. So if you are going somewhere, or you are going to have like the regular soda that might have high fructose corn syrup or something like that, there are, the sparkling waters with a cola flavor or a root beer flavor or something that maybe you could switch in there. There's these ones called Olipop that are actually quite high in fiber. But again, have that. So maybe they're not seeing it in the can, they have it from a glass, but it will definitely decrease the high fructose corn syrup and maybe the sugar high and then inevitable crash that they're experiencing.
That classic crash that every parent has witnessed.
Yeah.
Dr. Drew, I have a question for you. So COVID-19, obviously we know has been in the media a lot and has impacted many, many people. For families out there, some of the anxiety is they have to confront a family member that perhaps they don't necessarily agree with the take on COVID-19. It has divided a lot of Americans in terms of, are they pro-vaccine or not? And no need to give any sort of personal opinion on it, but for those that are saying, I don't want to face this is going to be tension with my mom, she's going to badger me. How can we handle that? Because I know earlier you all said you choose your battles, but when you're at the table and your mom's right there and she's mom and she's going to say what she wants to say, how can someone really navigate that? And I do want to put another question that piggyback that on, where that stress or that tension could possibly be not transferred to the children who are either at that table or at the kids' table close by and can often hear the comments and the exchange that's taking place.
Yeah, I kind of tend to group COVID in with like religion and politics. So it's just something that you just don't talk about. So, we encounter this too in our world, and we tend to just change the subject if possible, because it's not worth interfering with a relationship you have with a loved one. It's just not worth it to disagree on that level between really what's going on. So we tend to shift onto something a little bit brighter, a little bit more optimistic, and
just start belting out Deck the Halls.
Yeah, just start singing and dancing in your house instead, and maybe that might help.
Like, what's going on with her?
Right.
Change the subject. That's a good idea. You're certainly right. I think the core of your message was it's not worth compromising that relationship that's there, and it's best to just move forward and switch the subject and just say, not now. We're just not going to.
Yeah, and maybe it's absolutely, and maybe it's the thing that you set up beforehand, like the no topic zones. Like, we don't want to make the holidays about that. Let's not even go there. If you want to go there with me, I'll call you after the holidays, but let's not shadow our family time.
Absolutely.
That.
Yeah, and I guess to answer the second part of your question for the kids, we tend to not even talk about COVID stuff around them. So if someone is in our group and they do bring up COVID, we again change the subject and kind of move on to something else, because our kids they're kids. They're not supposed to be dealing with all this stress with COVID and worrying about it, right? I mean, I can't imagine being a kid in this world with COVID. So they've already got their own stressors with school and everything going on with their friends and such. Like, let's let them just be innocent little beings and grow up without worrying about COVID as much as the adults are.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on that, not just COVID, but other issues or topics that come up, not just during the holiday season, Dr. Briana, but maybe outside of the holiday season as well. There are parents out there, and perhaps they're from a generation where children were more so sort of seen, but not heard. And I happen to know, like, the rest of us that, people say, well, that was generations ago, but it spills over. And those people who are listening as children grow up and have children. And sometimes we repeat things unknowingly, thinking, well, I never did that. And wait a minute. minute, I am repeating what was done to me. But talk to them about the reality that we can transfer our anxiety and our fears and our stressors to our children. Because I think so many times, I've talked to people out in the community, out and about, and they're like, oh, that they know nothing about what's going on. And the children obviously can tell you everything that's going on. And obviously, when you're a family unit, there are things that will spill over. But how do we consciously keep that stress and anxiety in balance where the children aren't taking that on? Because as you know, a lot of parents don't mean to, but kids will sometimes feel they've got to be the protector or help mom and dad out, even if mom and dad don't realize how that child's processing that information.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like kids are so in tune. They're kind of like animals in that way, in the sense that they're so pure, and they read the energy of the room, and they know a lot more than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
And so I think absolutely, when a parent is stressed, the kids feel that, and they really look at towards the adults in their life for that security and stability. And structure, right? So if the adult structure or stability is faltering, then the kids feel that. And so I think one of the biggest things we can do as adults and parents is, like what we were talking about before, taking care of ourselves, making sure that we are managing our own stress, sleeping well, so that we can be in a strong and stable place, so that our kids then feel and read our energy as stable and secure. And kids are resilient. That's the amazing thing about them, right? And so if we did have a stressful day and we did blow up and we did, you can repair that. You can have that conversation with them.
Yeah.
You can come back towards them with that strong, stable, loving energy, and be the container for them. But I think the best way to be able to do that for our children is by taking care of ourselves and making sure that we are taking care of our own stress, making sure that we are sleeping, so that we can, be the strong, focused, adults to handle all the demands that are on us all the time.
It's a lot. And Dr. Drew,
Yeah.
when your wife talked about getting sleep, and we talked about nutrition, and you mentioned meditation, that can help, because I'm thinking of children and some of the stress and anxiety they may be dealing with from everyday mundane life. How young can we get kids into meditation?
That's a great question. I mean, you might be a better one to answer this than myself, but I'd say like 6, 7 years old. Would you say younger?
Oh yeah, our kids do it in school.
Okay. So
yeah, because meditation, I think we think of it as this, oh, meditation, it's so hard, it's this big, huge thing. No, meditation is just sitting, right? And being present. It doesn't mean that you're not having thoughts go through your head or you're not getting distracted, but if you do, you're coming back. You just come back, right? So you can, and if a thought comes through, you can see it, you can acknowledge it. It's just not it's not giving it any positive or negative attention. It's just like, oh yeah, there's like that cloud passing by, right? So with kids and with adults too, if meditation isn't something that you're used to doing, focusing on something. So focusing on something in the present. So one thing that we like to do, and with our kids, is just focusing on our breath. So just sitting there and focusing on your breath, going in and out, putting your hands on your belly, watching your hands move as you breathe in and out through your belly. And kids can do that very early on. You can even be, nursing your child or having a baby on your lap, and you can be meditating. And again, that regular breath and that energy, and that baby's going to feel that, right? So I think very early on.
I love it.
Yeah.
Dr. I did want to point my sights to you as we begin to wrap up this important conversation about stress during the holiday season. Again, with Dr. Drew Sinatra and also Dr. Briana Sinatra, husband-wife team. There are men that are watching us right now, and there are some men in your gender who don't really acknowledge stress. Right. And you and I both know, and your wife know, men experience stress. They do. But it doesn't always show itself like it does perhaps in other people. I've once read that sometimes in men, it can come out as anger, different ways. Speak right now to the men that are watching us. That's like, oh, I'm not stressed. The holidays doesn't bother me. But and I know they have fond memories, maybe sometimes not so great memories of holidays. They're like everybody else, right? And life has
Yeah.
its ups and downs, and the pressures of working, just like it affects women, is there. Family responsibility, it's there. But sometimes that, again, the check-in is not there. And in our society, in our culture, right, it may not be macho for our male counterparts to acknowledge that they're stressed, or that they have anxiety, or that it bothers them, and they're tense. They're going to go to this family dinner where perhaps they're not appreciated, or they feel that the father-in-law nitpicks them for everything. These are real life dynamics that happens in households everywhere. Any words of wisdom to men out there of it's okay just to be vulnerable and acknowledge it and work on it?
Oh, absolutely. I think the key there, the key word you just mentioned was vulnerability, and that's so important. And I think for men, they feel as if it's a weakness if they express themselves, if they express kind of what's going on in their life. And it's no coincidence that the majority of patients that come see me are women, because the men come in and they say, oh, I'm fine, there's nothing going on, my physical health is good, my mental health is good. But once I dig in and with questions, I figure out that not all is good. They are under a lot of stress. And a lot of men don't have another ear to listen to them. So I always encourage men to get into like a men's group where there's other men in the group that you can talk to about your feelings. And it's in that environment that I think can really bring about change, and also allow men to become more vulnerable when they're in a group of other men who are sharing similar type of experiences of, geez, I got to pay the mortgage, I got to take care of my kids, I got to work, I got to do this, I got to do that. Because that stress adds up on your shoulders and you start to feel it. And like you mentioned, it comes across as anger or frustration or road rage or whatever it is that's going on in a man's life. And so I think it's really the community aspect of getting together with other men, sharing what's happening in your life, not even necessarily going into the feelings and such, and just say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, and allowing someone else to hear them. That's really important. Just to allow another person to hear your story is therapy in and of itself.
Yeah, that is so powerful and so true. And hopefully as many men as possible hear your message and take it in and realize that it's okay to be human and vulnerable, and to address those concerns. That's key, right? And so key to
Absolutely.
address it as well. And for all of us to get all of the great tips that you all shared tonight, I want to recap and feel free to elaborate. Sleep is key. And I have to ask this, Dr. Briana, how much sleep should we be getting? I know you have a 10-month-old, so you're probably the wrong person to ask, but how much sleep ideally should an adult be getting to be truly functional? And I know the two of you believe that long-term health is key. So you've got to get that sleep as consistent as possible. How much should we be getting?
I think at least 7 to 9 hours. And I think the key there too is trying to go to bed earlier. They say like every hour before midnight is worth 2 hours after, because it's really that quality sleep that we can get going to bed a little bit earlier. Because when we go to bed earlier, we're getting that whole night of, well, from Chinese medicine point of view, that liver time where it's like our liver and our blood is getting cleansed, our organs and DNA damage, and that we all experience throughout the day is getting repaired. We're getting that mental repair. And so all of that is so important. And if you have a shorter amount of time that you're doing that in, or if you're getting woken up frequently and you're not getting those deep times of sleep, we do get affected over time. And so focusing on your sleep is really important, especially if your sleep is struggling. It's definitely worth addressing.
Yeah.
So that you can get that longer amount of time.
Yeah, thank you. And you get tip, you said go to bed earlier, right?
Yeah.
That's the key.
And sometimes, Dr. Drew, I'm sure you would agree that then we've got to prioritize. And everything sometimes can't be done in that day, because there are a lot of type A personalities watching us, and they're like, but I've got 20 things I've got to do between 6 and 9 o'clock, and I've got 2 kids on top of that. But I guess there's sometimes you're just going to have to acknowledge you got to live to see another day and get it done.
Yeah, make that list and then let it go and deal with it again tomorrow. And don't let it stay on your mind.
And after all, you got something to do tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
a longer list, perhaps. What a great conversation with the one and only Dr. Drew Sinatra and Dr. Briana Sinatra. Thank you two so much for being on with us. Dr. Drew, we'll close out with you and then we'll go to your wife. Any closing words or health tips to keep us empowered as we go through this holiday season? And 2022 is knocking at the door. I'm sure you would agree that may be our most healthiest year yet, but anything that we should really be in tune to get ready for the next year?
That's such a good question. I think the holiday season for many, like you said, it's like you see all this movie stuff, TV stuff where everything is perfect, but yet the holiday season is not perfect by any means. It's very stressful. So I think just acknowledging that maybe perhaps the holiday season is a little more stressful than we think it is, and focusing on one thing that you can do to calm yourself, whether it is going for a walk like Briana did today, maybe it's meditation, a breathing practice, maybe it's going to yoga, maybe it's doing an acupuncture session, maybe it's getting a massage, the self-care practices that we talked about, something that you do, perhaps writing in a journal, a gratitude journal, something that you do on a daily basis or a weekly basis that's going to help you get through this holiday season, which in my opinion is very stressful.
I love it. And Dr. Briana, as you close us out, any lasting tips? Your husband did a great job for us to remember as we get ready for 2022. But I think he's so right. You first have to acknowledge the issue at hand. We can't be in utopia. Everything's wonderful. Nothing's wrong.
Yes, absolutely. And I think too, if you're wanting to make a change, but you don't know where to start and you feel like it's overwhelming, there's help out there. So I think it's important to get the help so that you can make those changes for you, whether that is, through different activities, through different food changes, by adding supplements that might be, specific to you or helpful for you, getting your team together that'll really help you move from where you are now to where you want to be. And sometimes that's multiple people on your team, but you don't have to do it alone. And so, find someone to help you get to where you want to go. And I think at the beginning of a new year, as a New Year's resolution, is always a great time. And after the holidays where you may let go a little bit more, starting fresh in the new year, and making those changes with support is important.
Yeah, and you're so right. There's team members that can help you out there, and you don't have to do it alone. And there are many experts like the two of you and others who have the expertise and the resources to get us all on the path to healthiness. I love it. It makes life so fascinating. Dr. Drew, close us out. Where can we go for additional information on everything you talked about tonight? And if someone was interested in connecting with you and your wife?
Sure. Yeah, we've got a Facebook page. And it's facebook.com/Doctors Sinatra ND. And we also have another website that is www.drewandbriana.com.
Love it. Thank you so much. Such great information. Keep this conversation going. You all were amazing. To our viewers out there, thank you so much. I hope you have a great holiday season. Stay as healthy as possible. Keep being informed and engaged. Listen to Let's Talk America Radio and other, of course, platforms out there, keeping you informed in a very objective manner. We happen to believe here that you're smart enough to make decisions for yourself. So we bring in the best and the brightest experts to give you all of the information so you can stay empowered. It's all about empowerment. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sinatra. Dr. Sinatra, thank you so much. For additional information.
Thank you for having us on.
Thank you. What a pleasure. For additional information for Let's Talk America Radio, visit ltaradio.com. That's ltaradio.com. Or follow us on social media. We're out there on famous Facebook. We're on the gram, as the young individuals say. Instagram. We're on Twitter as well. And LinkedIn. You can find us, connect with us, or simply follow the hashtag LTA Radio. That's LTA Radio. Everyone, take care and have a great holiday season. As we said before, 'tis the season, and we will see you in 2022. Maybe your best year yet. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.